So which college in America is going to be the first to break the bad news, but ultimately the good news, to black students? That they do not have to be the victims of relentless white racism their entire life. It's their decision and not anybody else's. And which is the first black university that's actually going to teach them that? Which is the first black university that's actually going to start rejecting this black victimization as a guiding post to go through life? Not Wayne University in Detroit.
As a black student, I'm usually the only black person in my class.
You wonder if you can survive in a system that's not really made for you.
As black students at Wayne State University, they are fighting some long odds to get their degree. The numbers are pretty startling. Only a fraction of the students who enroll actually get their diploma. So why is this happening, and what's being done to change the trend? And tonight's Detroit 2020 report is not an easy fix, and one of the potential answers is even being called into question. Take a look inside Wayne State University's Student Union. It's bustling with hundreds of students of all nationalities. And with the addition of this, the Mike Ilitch School of Business, it should attract even more students. But when it comes time to graduate, where are the black students? Charvay Thomas is on her 4th semester at Wayne State.
Some kids that I started with aren't even here anymore.
From 2009 to 2015, the number of black students dwindled from about 6,000 to just over 3,000.
As a black student, I'm usually the only black person in my class.
You wonder if you can survive in a system that's not really made for you.
Dylan West is now a sophomore and doing fine.
Renaissance was, like I said, very focused on college prep. So we had huge workloads. We had close deadlines.
According to a report by Education Trust, more than 44% of white students graduate within 6 years. 2 years ago, only 1 in 10 black students could say the same. Cash Caldwell is a graduate of Wayne State.
I would have never thought that a school like Wayne in the heart of the city that gets predominantly, local students, minority students as well, that they would have that low of a graduation rate.
Wayne State Provost Keith Whitfield came to the university less than a year ago from Duke. He says finances, the curriculum, and math requirements are often roadblocks to graduation for black students.
I started on June 1st. The math competency requirement was dropped on May 31st.
With smartphones and computers, Whitfield says nationally, educators are now pondering,
what role does math play in a 21st century education? And how much do you really need?
Did you have to take math?
Yes.
Was that tough?
Yes, it was the hardest class I ever took in my life. And I'm glad I don't have to take it anymore.
It was so clear that this was something that was truly keeping a lot of students from graduating.
But many are wondering if this is the right move when STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math are some of the fastest growing in the job market. Whitfield says Wayne State has its challenges.
But we're an open access school. And so we take students that have lower credentials sometimes to be able to come to school.
Wayne State, also a top research school, is now reviewing curriculum and the way some classes are taught. Is it unfair to compare a Wayne State University to a University of Michigan, to a Michigan State University, even to an Eastern in terms of your student body?
Yes, very much so. And we're an urban serving. We sit in the heart of Detroit. And to some degree, I mean, that's what our identity is. We think about ourselves as Detroit's university.
98% of students come from a 100-mile radius, and many from DPS.
It's not to put it on the Detroit public schools, but the challenges that the Detroit public schools have had, we experience.
For now, things seem to be going in the right direction. As of January, the overall graduation rate was about 40%. That's up 8% from 2 years ago. And for African Americans,
it's up from 12.3% to 17.2%.
And 5 years from now, the goal is to have a 50% graduation rate and to close that racial gap. So to naysayers or people who want to throw darts at Wayne State, you say?
I say you better keep an eye on us. We are doing all the right things.
And we certainly will be keeping an eye on Wayne State. Next year, Wayne State University will be celebrating its 150th anniversary. They're hoping with new changes, the graduation rate will be moving in the right direction, not just for black students, but for the entire student body, and we will be following it.
You know what he said about math, I think is so true. If you're not going to be in a technical field, lower the math requirements, because that is scaring away a lot of students who can't get through it all.
And a lot of students have said that. They've compared curriculums, for example, from Wayne State to Oakland University, and they don't require as much math, so they're looking at the curriculum and making the right changes as they see it.
So if you're a black student at Wayne University, you've already got the benefit of lots of affirmative action, lots of standard lowering to get in on your SATs, on your grades from the Detroit public school system, which is a mess. When people are saying this already in the video we just saw, they're just kind of saying it in coded words. So you get these students that aren't really qualified to be in college, and then they're not qualified to be there. Then the only reason they're not qualified is because they're black, and it's all about racism. And the answer to hard schools is lower standards. I know that guy, Stephen Clark. He used to be a reporter back in my old town, San Diego. For that, Stephen Clark to say nobody needs math anymore is exactly the opposite. Math makes everybody more analytical. Math makes you think better. Every journalist needs math. Most journalists are mathophobes, except what they do is they go, except when they feel like going into an ocean of data and plucking out some obscure fact and waving it in front of you saying, Colin, even though I never studied math and I hate math, I happen to be an expert in statistics, so here's that little number I was telling you about. That's how they roll. Now here's the challenge for black students in a black university. You can get into these schools, but once you get in, sometimes it's a little bit hard to hide. You have to take a math course, a science, or anything like that. When you got to do the work, you got to get the grades. It's hard to fudge those numbers as much as the administrators want them to. So if you're a black student, you go to Wayne, you got two choices. A lot of times they only have two choices. One, do what most kids are already doing. 9 out of 10 are not graduating. 2, take African studies, African American studies, black studies, sociology, where it's all about black victimization, where white racism is institutionalized in their studies. And so they learn institutional resentment. They learn anger in college. The bigger picture on people going to college is that colleges now, the challenge is to be a little bit more vocational, give people that go there a little more something they can walk out with and put in their hands and show the world, I can do this. So if you're admitting black students to Wayne University and you're shuffling them off to black studies courses or sociology courses where everybody gets participation grades of a minimum of B, are you really doing that person a favor? Isn't it, at some point, don't you really want to sit the person down and say, listen, let's figure out what you like. Let's figure out what you are probably good at. It might not be math. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean there's no place for you on this planet. But we have to find a place for you. It might not be Wayne State University. This little piece of paper we give you in 4 years, guess what? It's not going to be worth a damn if you didn't spend the last 4 years learning how to do something. Oh yeah, and by the way, learning how white people suck in sociology and black studies classes, that doesn't really count as learning how to do something. But that's what happens. All these black and Hispanic kids, they just shuffle them into these courses. Then 4 years later, they look around and go, the only thing I learned is that white people suck. Can I make any money doing that? The answer is not really. Not as much as you would from an honest living. Not everybody has to go to college. My friend the great Willie Shield, worked on a tugboat for a long time. I was talking to Willie Shields the other night. I said, Willie, if you put a person on a tugboat, do they have to be a genius to learn how to work a tugboat? I said, no. No, a lot of people could just learn it by working on it 6 months to a year. You could learn how to work on a tugboat. But here's the thing. There's lots of different kind of smarts. I mean, we give these kids these SAT scores and we force them into these schools. By the way, the SAT is a pretty decent accurate indicator of how you're going to do in school. So you let all these kids in school with lousy SATs, they do lousy, well, surprise. there's lots of different kinds of intelligence. There's lots of different places for people who don't have high SAT scores. They might, they might not be a genius in the math course, but they might be able to take an engine apart, put it back together, in a dark garage. I don't know. I just know that a lot of people have skills that somehow they ignore, or they don't cultivate. But you're not going to learn it in a Wayne State sociology, anthropology class. That much I know for sure. I think a congressman said the exact same thing I'm saying here. I've been saying this for a while. 6 months ago, everybody yelled at him. Well, because he did the one unforgivable thing. He made the black kids angry.